Hi, this is Kate from Generate Magic, and today I want to continue the discussion of getting off the hamster wheel. And because I think there's a lot of discussion in this manifestation community about how to get your goods, right? How to get the relationship, the money, the career, whatever it is that you're aiming for, but not really a lot of discussion around what happens after that. And I think it's just human nature to always want more and more. I think that's normal and natural. So once you've achieved your goal, you move on to another goal. So I think that's very natural. But if you're constantly in the state, right, where you're constantly striving and seeking and never really satisfying, it's a very exhausting and very unhappy state to be in. And so there's also a lot of talk about feeling worthy of your goals, like feeling worthy of money or feeling worthy of a relationship. But I really see it the other way around, at least in my experience. And so I've always used seeing these goals as a way to feel that I'm worthy, or as a way to feel good about myself, like, oh, I've achieved something, I've accomplished something. And this has been ongoing since childhood, just this constant need to prove myself. And I remember in PE, we had something called the President's Challenge when I was a kid. And for the mile run, I would always come in last. And so I was like, I'm tired of this. And so I started practicing on my own. And then I started telling everybody about my new time, which wasn't out of this world, but it was significantly better than what I had been doing before. And of course, you never want to talk about, especially the people like friends and family and anybody who might kind of put you, into a bad state or shake your confidence. You never want to tell people about your goal, but I was a kid. I didn't know any better. And so I told pretty much everybody in my class about my new time. And I remember like one of my classmates laughing at me, and he was like, yeah, right. And even my mom told me that I was wearing rose-colored glasses. And so that really shook my confidence. And then sure enough, I ended up getting last. But this actually fueled my desire and even more to want to prove myself to others. And so I was always a really good writer. That's something that was that everybody really recognized, that I was always like a good student. And so part of my method for proving my worth was to win writing contests, to win academic contests. I always got really good grades, but I wasn't satisfied with just that. I wanted to excel in areas where people dismissed me and where people said that I couldn't, and such as sports. And so in tennis, I've talked about before, like I got a ball machine, like I started practicing all the time. And then later it was weight loss became my big goal, because I think I was like on the verge of being overweight. And in my school, most of the people in my school were really thin and athletic. And I always just thought my weight was just, and everybody else kind of did too, that I was just kind of a big girl, that was something that would just never change. And so that became like a really strong determination that I just wanted to show everybody. And in college, I gained even more weight. And I remember just looking at myself one day, and I was like, this just has to change. And so definitely there was a lot of diet and exercise that went along with it. But I think just having this clearer vision and this clearer intention, I think, was a big part of it, because I've definitely with diet and exercise, it hadn't been successful in the past. And I think a lot of people really have experienced this. And so I think it was a combination of all of these things. And certainly my life did improve once I had lost that weight. People definitely looked at me differently, that's for sure. I felt more confident, I felt more social, but a lot of those same insecurities still returned. And so it's not like my life magically improved for the better. And so just the other day, I was really kind of reflecting on this, and it's like all the pieces of the puzzle are finally kind of coming together. And so I think a big part of this, whenever you're working on any sort of goal, and there was actually like a period where I actually like avoided going for goals, because I would always just feel so so terrible about myself, like when I didn't achieve them, or at least didn't achieve them, on my terms. But I've learned that all of this, it's a very good like learning and growing process. And not that life, I don't necessarily think life just has to be about learning lessons all the time, but certainly as far as just feeling better within myself, I think everything that I've learned along this whole journey has been really crucial. And if it had been as simple for me as they make it in some of these videos, like, oh, just assume the state and then you'll immediately become it, or just follow this process and then tomorrow, you'll wake up and your wish will be granted. And certainly I believe that it can happen that way for sure. But I feel like in my case, for some of the goals that I've worked on, I feel like if it did happen immediately, then I wouldn't have grown as much as I had. And so really everything that you might be seeing like as a failure or a disappointment is really kind of leading you on this path to greater awareness. And so the other day, or not the other day, it was a few days ago, but basically I noticed that there was this fear coming up. And so at first I thought the fear was just, what if I never achieve the goal that I'm currently working on? But then I realized there was something beneath that. And what was beneath that was the fear that what if I'm just stuck in the cycle forever, where I'm constantly just looking to achieve these outward things in order to feel that I'm worthy, in order to feel just that I can live with myself, really is what it comes down to. And so yeah, I was just afraid because, when I think back to things, like the weight loss and even the SP, like these things that are kind of the holy grail in the manifestation community. And even though like I've achieved them, like it's still this sense of inadequacy that keeps coming up, and the sense that there's more to do, and just this constant need of having to prove myself. And so when I was reflecting on this, I was doing the dishes, and this voice came to me, and it's never like this dramatic, like booming voice in the sky. It's always like this inner voice. And the voice said, "You are amazing no matter what." And the no matter what was like a crucial, I think I talked about it before, but never quite in this context. That no matter what was a crucial part of the puzzle to me. And because before, the way that I had been looking at it was that I had to achieve all of these things before I could feel that I was worthy, before I could feel that I was amazing, or even just that I was good enough, and just that I was deserving to keep living, basically. And so and it was exhausting just thinking about, okay, because then there was this thing kind of like hanging over like every goal. Like if I don't achieve this, then I'll feel like a failure and I'll hate myself. And even if I do achieve it, like I'll feel good for a little bit, but then it'll just be back to something else. And so this constant feeling the need to prove yourself is just a very exhausting path to be on. And you can kind of recognize all these things, right? You can recognize, we hear all the time about self-love, and we hear all the time about like just, that we're inherently worthy, that the kingdom is ours, but at least for me, it's hard to fully kind of tangibly grasp them until you've had these experiences. And so for me, the phrase "no matter what" immediately kind of puts me back in the driver's seat. It reminds me of my inherent worth, and reminds me it's not that you achieve these things and then you feel good about yourself. It's the other way around. You feel good about yourself, and then I know the catch is, not the catch, but kind of the pitch that they give, right, in a lot of the manifestation advice is that you feel good about yourself and then you get the prize. And sure, yeah, we definitely we shouldn't deny that we want these outer things, but then at the same time, I think the biggest prize is just knowing that you can feel good about yourself no matter what. I think that's really, really the biggest piece of the puzzle, at least for me, and because there's really freedom in that. And so I think recently I talked about feeling good no matter what, and then but more and more parts of the puzzle are coming together, and so it's really, yeah, just feeling good about yourself no matter what, feeling amazing no matter what, and and not needing the relationship or the money or the statistics, not needing all that stuff to feel good about yourself, and to recognize your inherent worth. And immediately it was so freeing, like once I kind of internalized that truth. And so then another thing that I've been saying to myself a lot is of course. And so before, whenever I would get something, like for instance, there's a blog that I write for, and I'll get notifications whenever people highlight my stories or people like my stories. And my natural reaction in the past was to go, oh, they like me, or they like my story, or I'm doing really well. And I think, and so I think, but you notice how, right, that kind of puts you in the state of dependency. And same thing with relationships, right? When the person's giving you a lot of attention, you feel really good. And then when the person's not, you feel like crap. And so, yeah, and so of course is another way to immediately connect back to your inherent value. Like, of course, that person is going to reach out to me. Of course, people are going to like my book or my blog post because I know that I'm amazing. And so it's a way, again, of recognizing always that it's you that comes first, right? It's not these outward things that come first. And it's a way of immediately putting you back in the driver's seat. And then the greatest reward out of all of this is yeah, sure, you'll get you'll achieve a lot of your goals, but I think the greatest reward is really the freedom coming from just this knowledge, right? That you don't need these outward things to feel good about yourself. And really, and it comes back to that phrase from Vadim Zeland, right? That you can exit the courtroom, that you don't need to be in the state of constantly feeling like you need to prove yourself, or like you need to defend yourself, or you need to justify yourself. And it's a very liberating state to be in. And so that's the two phrases I want to leave you with today, is no matter what, and of course. And so thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.